Welcome to the Ignorance is Strength podcast. I'm your host, Fabian motherfucking Ojeda, and I don't know shit, but that's okay. All right, let's get this shit started. Thank you everybody for listening to the Ignorance is Strength podcast. Hope you all enjoyed episode number 20, the ever so popular shit show number 2. My friends and I are crazy. I don't have anything much else to say about that episode other than I just hope everybody enjoyed the silliness. And they'll be back on very soon, probably episode 30. With that out of the way, we have a new episode today with a brand new guest. I'm really excited about this one. I'm not super familiar with the topic, which is great because I can definitely learn a lot today, and I hope a lot of you guys will too. But let's welcome him. He's a rocker, a wrestling fan, and the host of his own podcast. Welcome to episode 21 of the podcast, Sam Mitchell. How you doing today, Sam?
I'm all right. It's been a hectic day, but been all right.
Yeah, I'm over here barbecuing, so I gotta. You guys like barbecue?
Oh, yeah. Depends. Depends for the most part. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it all.
Yeah.
If you got ribs, maybe I'll come over.
You didn't get an invitation. He just wanted to be like.
It's a long drive, but
I invited myself. You got any ribs? Because can I come over and get some ribs?
I got pulled pork tonight. So
I'll take that.
Yeah, I got a little side hustle barbecue business that I do on the side. But your mom's joining us today too, right? So we got Gina on as well. How are you doing today?
I'm really well. Thanks for having us.
For sure.
Anytime we can talk about Sam's journey and Sam's podcast and kind of where he's come from is always awesome because he's got a pretty cool story, I think.
Yeah, I think so. So with that, said, you guys are from Indiana, right?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So did you, Sam? Did you grow up there?
Yep. So we live in Central Indiana our whole lives. I lived in another house down in Colleen for a good long while, but I don't know if you know this, but I-69 was getting built, so we had to move into another part of Indiana.
All right.
In Central Indiana. We haven't left Central Indiana, but just another part of Central Indiana.
Okay, but same general area the whole time?
Yeah, same general area. Yeah.
All right.
We live close to our family, so that's kind of nice.
Mm-hmm.
How are I'm curious because I'm in California, and I ask everybody because I thought this whole quarantine pandemic thing was going to be over months ago, right? So I'm curious, like how is life during the quarantine out in Indiana?
It's different, but I think people are starting to get used to it, and it's kind of a meh ordeal. They kind of have their own beliefs.
Yeah.
With it.
Yeah.
Some people think it's stupid, some don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in the mix.
There's definitely people that have different opinions, but as far as us, where we are as a state, it's I don't think we have as many cases as lots of states, just because there are more our rural areas. We live in a rural area. Our closest town to us and it's just a small town. Is about 30 minutes. So we live out in the country. So until we go into, if you go into a restaurant or you go into like a retail store or something, you don't really know. You don't really notice it out where we live, but just as soon as you get around a lot of people, like masks are required and things like that. But the cases here aren't just. They're just not skyrocketing.
Right.
But we definitely still are dealing with it.
Yeah, so I'm like, pretty close to LA, so we seem to be like the worst offenders. So everything's very slow moving over here. We just, I think, are on the cusp of maybe opening back up, but, it's very slow moving. And I thought this was going to be over months ago, like I said, so we'll see how it goes, But quick rundown of what we're going to talk about. I wanted to get into a little bit of history and backstory. About Sam, where how you grew up, where you grew up. We'll talk about autism as a whole. We'll dive into the meat of the interview, which would be the Autism Rocks and Roll podcast, right? And then we'll talk a little bit about, some cool interests that you have, Sam. I know you're into rock music and pro wrestling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit about that, man. I love both. So, quick, general history and backstory. I know Sammy said you grew up probably in the same, Central Indiana area, all your life, right? But how is that? Because it must be different from living in a city, because I grew up, I always had neighbors, I always had like neighbors right next to me. I live in apartments, but you guys are kind of out more, a little more rural?
Yeah, so we do have neighbors, I would say, but they don't live like you got here. They're probably like down there, probably.
It's just it's the country.
It's a country neighborhood. Yeehaw!
Okay.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So I teach, just to kind of give you an example, I'm a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I teach 8th grade language arts at our local school. And there's probably 450 to 500 kids in our middle school.
Okay.
So from like 5th grade to 8th grade. And really in each school.
And we're not...
So it's not huge classes.
I think, and I'm not going to bash Lee County, but I think we're not the best economically.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of people who are poor in our area.
Okay.
But so that shows us how good our economics are. But anyway.
Yeah, the socioeconomics, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
We've got lots of struggling families here, but we try at the school. We try to, I think this year we had they integrated free breakfast. And then they had dinner. The kids that need it can grab dinner on their way out. So the school is kind of the hub of the community, and we try everything that we can to help those kids that need it.
And the reason I ask, is I always like to frame the picture. I like to let people know, this is where our guest's coming from, And so that kind of gives you a little bit more, insight as to, who they are. Right, so I guess next question is more so for you, Gina. How and when did you know that Sam was autistic?
Well, so during my pregnancy, it was very normal.
Mm-hmm.
I had the actual giving birth to Sam wasn't real normal. I had an emergency C-section because things got kind of serious. Wasn't going like it should.
Right.
But then Sam was born, and he seemed and he is healthy.
Mm-hmm.
We can get into that later, but I so I had him,
flexing,
but then I noticed he wasn't. Yeah,
I was flexing, man.
He's healthy. He's which I'll tell you my opinion on that and everything, because I don't really believe he has a mental illness, but that's kind of another question. But when he was born, everything was okay, but then I just noticed he wasn't hitting his milestones.
Right.
And he was not, crawling on time. He wasn't, and he did. He crawled, rolled over, walked, pulled up on things very quickly. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until he was 9 or 10 months old and he walked when he was 1. It was pretty typical. Mm-hmm. But then the biggest flag was he was not talking. When I took him to his pediatrician, he knew when he was 2.5, he knew 10 words. Mm. And we were like, that's just not that's not typical.
Right.
So we put him in speech therapy, and I just remember one day the speech therapist saying, because she couldn't diagnose him with autism, but I remember her saying there's something off. Mm-hmm. I remember thinking, okay, she's a specialist, so she kind of knows something's up. Mm-hmm. So when he was 3, we put him in a special education preschool just so I could get a professional's opinion. And within a week, his teacher couldn't diagnose him either, but he said, I think he's on the autism spectrum. And I had kids in my class, a couple kids that had autism. And so I was a little bit familiar with it, but not real familiar. And so we noticed he hated loud noises. He would line all of his toys up, and he had an impeccable memory. Right. He could remember the order of the toys. If you messed him up, he had a meltdown. And he was playing with his toys differently than most 2-year-olds. He was...
I wasn't smashing trucks, let's put it that way.
He wasn't smashing trucks. You know what I mean? Just being kind of rambunctious like a 2-3-year-old. He was pretty calm, and he would sort them I mean, he was literally like a year and a half, 2 years old, and he was taking toys and he was sorting them like toys that were bumpy or toys that were blue. And I'm like, this is pretty cool, but why isn't he, playing? And so finally, a behavioral psychologist at school observed him for a month. And, I wasn't surprised at all when she said that he had autism. It was scary. I mean, as a parent, you don't get to sign paperwork when your kid's born to say, yes, I agree
Right.
to raise someone with autism. And that sounds harsh, but that's really how I felt for a very short period of time because, I mean, I'm an educator and I didn't know how he was going to learn. I didn't know what direction I just didn't know. And we still, to this day, he's 18 years old and he's doing obviously so many cool things, but there still are unknowns, so, but that's kind of where the diagnosis came from.
Okay.
He wanted to, there for a while, I just remember there being talk that maybe Sam needs to be in a, a resource room to get his education. And I said, absolutely not.
No, you didn't say that. No, fully.
Well, I knew that he was going to need services, but there's no way he was not going to be in general ed classes.
Right.
So I just said, no, that's not going to happen.
Right.
And so he has been in general ed classes since he's been in kindergarten. With resources, but that was something that I'm like, we'll go to a different school. If you try to put him in just, and it's not that those classes aren't beneficial to kids that belong there or kids that need to be there.
Yeah, I mean, some of my friends, I think they should have been there in the first place, but I don't think I need to be there.
No, I knew that from the very beginning.
And it's a different kind of socialization, right?
Yeah, for sure. And being a teacher helps because I've always known what the special ed laws are in Indiana. So I knew, if he was going to school and he would come home and he would say, this is what happened in class today. And, if he bombed something and I would be like, did you get that read to you? Did you get extra time? And if he said no, then I knew then that's the laws being broken because he has the IEP that says, so... but for the most part, the school that he has gone to has been great. I mean, I can't complain. It's been great.
I think our school, for the most part, is good.
It's awesome, but there were just times where I'm glad that I did have the knowledge.
Right.
To kind of look out for him.
That's for sure. A leg up because a lot of people don't have that knowledge. Sam, did you generally like school as a kid, as a young kid?
Well. It depends on the year you're talking about, I always say. For the most part, for elementary, and from first to seventh, skipping fourth was a good year because I had an amazing teacher. Okay. So, but for the most part, no. It was just hard to fit in.
Right. What kind of activities did you like to do?
Eighth grade, I had... Well, I'll get into that here in a minute, but eighth grade, I had... her as my teacher, and people liked her, so the reason why they liked me, though, was because of her, so her likeness kind of influenced me a little bit. Nice. And then freshman year, no, it's the classes I took and just where I was mentally, I wasn't ready. I took French, I wasn't it was thrown in the dust, and then classes that really weren't going to influence me. And then, in the sophomore year, I was, let's put it this way, I always label myself at that time frame. I was arrogant. I thought I was on top of the game, and I liked the classes then. The classes there were pretty spectacular. I would say it was a fun year, and I wasn't learning much. And I was just arrogant. I really was. I wasn't soaking it in. Okay. We get to junior year. Oh man, that was when the COVID hit, and that's where all that stuff hit. But it's just a lot of work. It's pounding. But as far as this year, the year's pretty good. Really good, actually. I think I'm taking classes that are going to help me and some fun classes that I should have been in this all the time. I'm taking a entrepreneurship class at our local fairgrounds. So, and then I'm taking I guess I'm becoming a good writer because I take a creative writing class.
Okay, so you're in high school now. You're a senior?
Yeah. Yeah, nice. I'm a senior.
So that must be different going to high school during this whole pandemic. Because like I felt so bad for the class of 2020. You know, I work out of school, and to see the kids that just they work so hard and they didn't get everything that they had coming to them. So what are your goals after high school, Sam?
Well, I plan on going to Ivy Tech.
Okay.
For general classes, and switching to Vincennes for either this or what I'm doing for now, or tourism, because not to travel, but I like to help people find their destinations.
Nice. So
find the hotels, find the restaurants, help them out a little bit.
Yeah. Are you think you guys are going to get like your regular high school experience back as far as like prom and like a regular graduation and everything once you get back? Are you guys on campus or still not? Are you still everything's still distance learning?
No, we're there.
We're there. We're there full time.
Okay. See, that's one of the differences.
Well, even some of the schools, like in our county, I think if one school goes completely virtual in our county, we will too. Mm. But in other counties surrounding us, I mean, we're one of the few that is weird, because we went to e-learning last March for the last part of school. But yeah, we've been there since August 5th, and it might just be a matter of time before we go back to e-learning.
Yeah. So Sam, again, what are some activities that you were into? I mean, did you do any sports or any extracurriculars?
Well, for now, as far as sports go, it's a no for that. I don't think she would let me anyway, but anyway.
Well, he wanted to play football, and
I didn't want to play football.
You talked about it when you were younger.
Yeah.
And I said no.
Yeah.
That's what it boils down to.
Plus, I probably wouldn't find the right goal, saying to myself.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
going to be like, no, go the other way. But as far as what extracurricular, I would say that media club, that's where I found podcasting. Our school has a local media club.
Nice.
And what else activities-wise?
Well, he's almost a second-degree black belt in karate, taekwondo.
Yeah, I retired from that, but I got burnt out on it, let's put it that way.
Uh-huh.
Well, he did it for 5 years, and he got his first degree, and then he started his second degree, but didn't quite finish it. So.
Yeah, well, it's because I got burnt out.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what else? I'm not really an interesting person, to be honest with you.
Yes, you are.
Well, I can't give anything else that... I mean, I can give you hobbies, I just can't give you any like, school activities.
He's not very competitive. He's never, like, we had him in T-ball, and we had him in, like, when he was really small, like basketball, soccer, but he never has been a competitive person. But karate worked because it was like an individualized, he was kind of competitive against himself.
Right.
Because he just wanted to get better.
And you get to be every other once in a while, it was kind of for fun, maybe.
And then, like, the tournaments and stuff, he didn't really. But he's never been real competitive. But so he's not been in a lot of team stuff.
Since you like pro wrestling, you ever thought about doing like high school wrestling?
I talked to her about it. You gave me the thumbs up, I remember.
Uh-huh.
Well, we were going to have it. Our school was going to have it, but I think they decided not to.
Oh,
we've never had it.
No team.
We've never had it.
They were going to have it, but then they decided, nah, let's not do it.
Well, we thought about even taking him to the closest town to do, like, if there was a Boys and Girls Club or something like that, but we never really found it, because I think that he would have, because he's a big build boy, so I think he would have done all right with that, but it never panned out.
Yeah, plus, to be honest with you, that's all right. I think this is good. I got this.
There you go. So yeah.
All right. Good. So let's jump into that. Give me the story of Autism Rocks and Rolls, the podcast. How I know you mentioned you picked up on it because you had the media club at school.
So what happened was I don't know if you heard, but you ever heard of a Riley Dance Marathon? Have you ever heard of this before?
He's in California.
Well, I mean, like, Riley. Have you ever heard of a dance marathon?
Yeah. A dance marathon where you dance, like, till the last person drops, right?
Yeah.
Sort of, yeah. Well, my friend I kind of get thanks to him a little bit because they had these things for Riley Dance Marathon where they dance for, like, special needs kids.
Okay.
And you know me, I'm a big avid person with special needs and avid people who are like that. I try niche, but anyway. So several people going down. Some of my peers were down, and I don't remember the names, but they were going down, and they had like these mics and these cameras, and I thought, what are they doing? So then I was like, asked them what's going on, like, and then they gave me like, it's me and Clem, blah blah blah, like it's this. So then they said to join next year because they had a lot of projects in the works apparently, and then I joined next year, which would be the sophomore year, I guess.
Okay.
Which is part of why I like it too, and that's where I found the podcast. And we have our own school's podcast as well called Thundercast. So that's where we had our schools, and I thought to myself, though, I want to do one at home. I wanted to do something else than Thundercast. But granted, I love it, but it's just Thundercast. And it's, I thought, let's do something else. Let's do my own homemade podcast, is the way to put it. So I asked her if we can do it. We got the stuff, and then I got the equipment for my birthday.
Nice. Are you a fan of any other podcasts? Do you listen to any other podcasts regularly?
Oddly enough, no. Except Thundercasts.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think if you're you're like keep coming back to your wrestling fan, you could probably check out some like the Bruce Pritchard podcast. JR, Grill and JR. Those are pretty good. Or like it depends on how far back you're a fan, but if you know who Conan is, he's got a really good one called Keeping It 100. You should probably check that out.
Well, here's why I don't listen to other podcasts that much. I'll be honest with you.
Go ahead.
It's the fact that I don't want to bash them, but to me, when you make it your own, there's a unique specialness to it.
Yeah.
Like when you make your own, it has your special. When you watch someone else, it's like, man, it's the same structure, same ordeal, same routine. This is boring. When you have your own, you hear your voice, it's like, okay, it has this box of being special around it, but it's yours. I mean, you're proud of it. You're proud of your own work.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
that's why mainly.
No, that's okay. Like that's fine, but I don't know. Like that is kind of what autism is. Is in the nicest way possible to say it. And Sam knows this. We've had conversation after conversation. But the people that are on the autism spectrum, it really is about them.
Okay.
And we have worked with Sam a lot over the years that, I understand that that's your way of thinking, but that's not acceptable sometimes. And it's not that Sam isn't, he loves his family, he loves his friends, and, but...
Yeah, I'm a loyal man, trust me.
He's very loyal, but it's a very different way in the world. So like when he says to you, I don't enjoy podcasts because it's not mine. To me, being non-autistic, I think, well, Sam, that's kind of rude because, you should be, complimenting other people's podcasts. And it's not that he doesn't want to, it's just in his mind, but I like mine. Like, right. I want mine. And I'm saying that because that is part of it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I understand what you mean.
It's part of it.
Yeah, definitely. And then, you take a lot of pride in what you do, right, Sam?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I like my episodes I've been on previously. I'll check them out once in a while. And, I'll maybe follow them, because, as a thing, as a gratitude. But I don't listen to the episodes.
Yeah.
Other than mine.
Yeah.
What, did you have any sort of, struggles putting it together at first, or was it just you're a natural? You immediately caught on and you knew how to edit, you knew how to make it interesting?
Well, I think Media Club for the experience. At first, it was pretty easy. It took a while to get a system, but now I get it perfectly. But to answer your question, my first one was I interviewed my own mother as a teacher. I thought my voice was kind of boring. I was like, I'm saying my stories are my stories.
Yeah.
Pretty boring. And then as time goes on, I was like, okay, you got to be more enthusiastic about this. You act like you want to be there. To answer your question, man. So yeah, that's how I evolved a little bit. I would say. Yeah, and as his mom, kind of sitting back and watching him do it,
I would say just from watching him that the podcast itself, he was a natural. I mean, it clicked, and if something clicks in his mind, He's
easy.
really good at
I'll
it.
tell you what clicks easily right now. Podcasting clicks.
Mm-hmm.
I have that. My family has a hay farm. That clicks easily.
Mm-hmm.
So we work on hay a lot, so that's probably what else I'm doing. Either podcasting or hay.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Pool. Not swimming pool, like the game.
Billiards.
Yeah. Yeah, that clicks really
He's
well.
very good at that. But so when it clicks, but then you have things like day-to-day living. Laundry.
No, I'm not going to agree with you on that one.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Driving, I will. If you say
driving.
I'll give you that one.
Driving, he has his driver's license, but it's just like when he did podcasting, like he said, like it just clicks. But then there's certain things that, like you and I take for granted that, we just go do laundry or we get in our car and we drive away.
Mm-hmm.
That's not clicking him.
No.
And I think it will, but there's just certain things that, so that's kind of, again, being on the spectrum is like, the way his pediatrician explained it to me was, whenever you watch it, like a typical, I don't even like the word typical, but even like a typical child grow up, their growth chart is like a slope. Like they just gradually, just with everything, improves, over time. But then when you have that slope for someone on the spectrum, it's like a roller coaster.
I see.
It's like, oh my God, they're really good at that, but they cannot do that. Like that's not clicking.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, it doesn't look like your typical.
It doesn't like a.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I mean, as far as the podcast goes, what how many episodes are you in right now? How deep?
21.
21. Wow,
21
we're at the same number of episodes here. This is episode number 21.
Oh, cool.
Well, ironic.
Yeah.
What so far? I mean, what has been your favorite moment or your biggest success in terms of the podcast?
Okay, that's easy. I've been on other people, so that's a big success. And I'm currently probably going to work on after this. TED Talks. We're going to probably be doing a TED Talks soon.
Yeah, he got chosen for, I don't know if you're familiar with TED Talks.
Yeah, for sure.
I think he got asked, and it's a kind of a local TED Talk, so that was really exciting. So.
And what else happened? Podcast. Awards.
Oh, yeah, we just found out, just about a week ago, the People's Choice Podcast Awards, he is in the top 10 for the health section.
Wow.
And so we are like, I almost had a heart attack.
You did a backflip. Let's put that way.
Whenever we got the news.
Wow.
So that's kind of what we're waiting
on.
on.
I was excited, but I just didn't show my excitement. You got mad at me for that.
So we're just kind of waiting on the results of that. He's also had a couple of really cool guests.
Yeah.
On that.
Sure. You may. So I've had, actually 3. So this one's local. You're not going to know him. But his name's not Abe. His name's Abe Shapiro. He is the neurodiversity leader, because our Indiana University has like a neurodiversity club, and he's the leader of it.
Okay.
And let's see, Armani Williams. He is the first openly autistic NASCAR driver.
Nice. Oh.
So
he was on his show a while back. That was pretty cool.
And then the final one I had was Simon Majumdar.
Mm-hmm.
He was. I don't know if you heard the show, but you've heard like big Food Network person like Cutthroat Kitchen, Guys Grocery Games.
I love those shows, yeah.
Have you seen the bald-headed one?
I think I know who you're talking about.
He's a judge.
One of the judges. Oh,
that's him.
Wow. How did you get in contact with these people?
Okay. Abe was just our friend, so that happened naturally. Mm-hmm. Armani happened because he messaged us. Mm-hmm. Simon and I got to message him, but she didn't believe what happened.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Armani got in touch with us, and then Sam said, because Simon is a huge advocate for autistic charities that give money to autism because of a family connection for him. Mm-hmm. And so Sam knew that. So Sam said, can we leave him a message and see if he'll be on our show? And I was like, but we'll try, but I don't want you to get your hopes up. But he emailed right back and said that he would. So we still talk to him sometimes. Yeah. He's a very nice guy.
Very humble, may I add.
Yeah, there you go. I'm taking tips over here from you guys.
Yeah, my tip is if you want to guest, message them. Even though you may not think it happened, it might happen.
Yeah, I always tell them the worst
Just
thing
give them a shot. Give them a shot. I mean,
say no.
what's the worst thing that could possibly happen? That's what I always say.
Good way of looking at it there, right? What do you see as far as, like, how big do you see the podcast getting? I mean, do you want it to be, like, you know, kind of like nationally known or anything like that? Or is it something more like a project that you do for fun?
Excuse me. I don't know quite yet how it could be. It could be both. Mm-hmm. As time goes on, it might be just for fun. But as time, it could be my living even. I don't know. Mm. It's a TBA, like, I can be honest, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Just see where it goes. But I mean, so far, it sounds cool, man. I like that.
Yeah.
I wanted to switch gears a little bit. I know we talked a lot about autism so far, but I wanted to focus in on, you know, how it's perceived and how it's viewed by most people in America. You know, I always do a little segment on my podcast called Social Media Says, where I ask a question, and it's usually in the form of a poll or an open-ended question. And I asked for this episode, do you have a family member or close friend with autism? What do you guys think the results were? You know, I polled a lot of people. Did most people say they know somebody with autism or don't know?
They know.
I think they know, and they don't realize it sometimes.
So, like, what do you think?
Yeah,
like,
I think they know. I think they don't know sometimes. Well, I think they know, and they don't realize it sometimes.
Right. So, what percent do you think said they know somebody with autism? What percent said they do?
50-50, if I had to guess.
50.
No,
I'd say, actually, yeah. 50-25. That's my guess.
I think it's much higher.
Mm-hmm. So, surprisingly, right? It was actually very low. It was
what?
Really, yeah. It was about 30% said they know somebody, a family member or close friend, that has autism. 70% said no. You know, and I am very, very surprised by that. But that tells you, in my opinion, you know, where autism awareness is even now. You know, where you think that it would be a lot higher. People still say, you know, I don't know anybody with autism, but I think there's a number of reasons why. You know, one of my listeners replied. He said, you know, he doesn't tell anybody that his daughter's autistic, but she is, right? And he says it's very annoying when people find out and they say things like, "Oh, she doesn't look autistic; she looks normal." You know, he finds that very offensive, right? What's your guys' take on something like that?
So you said, you kind of cut out a little bit. So you said the young man said that he doesn't tell anybody that his daughter's autistic?
No, yeah, he hasn't told many people. I didn't know, and I'm a friend of his.
Well,
I think that's wrong.
I mean,
clear short, I think it's wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's wrong too. But on the flip side of that, you know, I'm Sam's parent. That was my choice. I told Sam he had autism when he was 6 years old.
Yeah, one of my friends' parents hid it from one of their daughters until 6th grade.
Yeah. I don't think that's the route people should go. Mm-hmm. We didn't with Sam, and I mean, I feel like that Sam's very successful. Now his child may be too, so I don't want to come across as like you're doing the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. But in my opinion, I think that they need to know because, or even if I think even other people need to know. Because I think when you don't tell, I think it becomes shameful. Mm-hmm. I think it becomes something that you're trying to hide. And why are we hiding that? Mm-hmm. That is, in my opinion, autism is brain wiring. Mm. It isn't a mental illness. Mm-hmm. It is something that we should be ashamed of. Mm-hmm. My brain is wired differently than your brain,
right.
And his brain is wired differently than the next person's brain. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that it should be like an oh my God thing. My child has autism, and that it is what it is. Mm-hmm. I mean, I have a learning disability in math. It's what it is. That's not hidden from people.
Oh yeah, I'm not good at math at all.
So, but that's my opinion.
No, for sure. Yeah.
You know, Sam was having major meltdowns when he was 5-6 years old, and my husband and I were like, he needs to know. Yeah. He needs to know why this is happening. His teachers need to know why this is happening.
Mhm.
You can't help somebody if you don't have all the information. So I just personally think it needs to be viewed. Like there's this huge stigma on autism.
Right.
Like it's bad, bad. We have autism. There is nothing.
We're not broken. That's not the case.
Yeah, there's
Right.
nothing bad about him. He doesn't need to be fixed.
Mhm.
He's not broken. He doesn't. Sam is Sam.
Right.
I'm not gonna. Do I wish that some days would be easier? Absolutely.
Mhm.
But I have yet to meet a parent that has a perfect child,
Right.
or that they don't deal with something
Mhm.
on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, and I feel strongly about it. So I hope I didn't come across as rude or anything like that. But I feel very, very strongly about that question.
Aren't you rude anyways?
So.
No, and I appreciate that, because I think it's definitely, something that needs to be said, because, a lot of people that maybe are autistic don't know it, because like I remember growing up as a kid, I didn't know a single person who was autistic, right? I'm talking about all the way through like maybe in high school I might have known one person, but when I look back now, after and I work with kids, so after years of working with kids, after over a decade, looking back at some of the kids I knew in elementary and middle school, I'm like, you know what? They probably had some form of autism, like, and I don't think they were ever told or diagnosed or anything like that. But I mean, it could also be the community that I lived in, because, for example, and I don't want to speak for all Hispanic people. I'm Hispanic, but it seems like in our community, at least those people that are very old school about it, they don't want to know anything about it, and I don't know if it's just like lack of access to information, or there's a fear of going to the doctor and or there's just a general, lack of knowledge, but what do you think needs to be done in order to improve that awareness, preparedness, sensitivity?
So I'm going to say something and then I'll let Sam talk. But I think
You can answer this one.
the first thing I think that needs to happen, we need to remove normal
Mm-hmm.
out of the vocabulary.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's fair that the media or beauty magazines or other people that are defining what normal is.
Right.
Nobody should get to decide that,
Mm-hmm.
because there is no normal.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee I'm not normal. I guarantee the next person's not normal.
I guarantee I'm not.
But
You're crazy. I'll admit it.
but yeah.
And I'm crazy too. I mean, I'll admit it myself.
Well, I mean, like,
I'll
but I'm
jump
just
on that
saying-
one for me too.
I mean, I always tell my students, because they'll be like, "God, that's not normal," and then I go in with this big spiel about like, why do you get to decide what's normal? So I think that's the first thing that needs to happen, and people need to stop looking at Sam like, "Oh, he's autistic, he's not normal."
Mhm.
Well, what do you have? What do you struggle with every day? Because you're not, normal needs to be gone.
Unless you're the president, you struggle with something.
The president's not normal. I'm sorry.
I mean, we can agree there. Most politicians aren't. Yeah.
Absolutely. So anyway, that's my take, is get rid of normal, get rid of this definition of what beauty is.
Mhm.
I mean, on.
Yeah, we're all beautiful and stuff.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Looks,
Yeah.
maybe for a model.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, you're beautiful in English. I mean,
I'm beautiful in English.
yeah.
Anyway, go ahead, buddy. You can answer.
You answered everything. So,
Anything
Yes, ma'am, so
to,
now
to add to that, Sam?
no, I'm afraid not, bud. She just said everything.
There you go.
Unless you want to say what she said.
But do you think, I guess just, if I were to ask you specifically, do you think that people view it negatively sometimes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I would 100% agree with that statement. And I used to care, but I don't anymore. They don't. It's their problem.
Mm-hmm. And
That's a you problem, not a me problem.
yeah, that's true. I mean, and do you think most people are willing to learn about autism, or just would rather be like blinded about it?
question. I would say it's a 50-50.
Yeah.
I'd say some would want to if I took them into it. Some would be like, nah, it's okay. I'm gonna go to Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We've seen both. I mean, I've seen over the years people, maybe think, well, he's weird, or that's odd, or that's weird. But then I've seen other people just completely accept him for who
There's
he
a Walmart
is.
story we could probably tell the resemblance then and now.
Oh, yeah. There was a story one time. He was, it's been a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He, we're trying to teach him like money management and things like that. And so we were at Walmart, and he had his wallet, and he was paying for his stuff, whatever he was buying. And he was struggling a little bit. Like, he was nervous, and I stepped back, and he kind of looked at me when he was trying to get the money out, and he wanted me to just kind of save him, but I was like, I can't. He has to figure this out. And so I had worked with him on it. So he was doing it, and the lady behind me, she was an older lady, probably in like her 60s, 70s, and she said, does he have a brain injury?
Oof.
And I said, and my first reaction was like, why would you say that? Like, that's rude. You don't know me. You don't know my son. But then I thought, this is maybe a moment for education. Like, she doesn't know. And so I said, no, actually he has autism. And like, she was part of that large percentage. She had no idea what that was. And so I was able to say, well, this is what it is, and this is what he struggles with. And so it actually worked out okay. I don't think her intention was to be offensive.
Yeah, I don't think it was.
It was more of a, like, what's going on. And so I didn't take offense to it after a few seconds.
I mean, that's kind of, and my podcast has a funny name, ignorance is strength, but that's kind of where I'm coming from, where it's like, sometimes it's okay to be ignorant about something, just be stronger about it, learn about it,
That's fun. I love the title. I'm a guy likes playing on words. It's like using opposite words to make a good title, like ignorance and strength.
Yeah.
Or get along, like, and to create Ryan, I said, like, it's like what would happen if roads were vampires. I said death would be life would be death. So
he thinks like that. Sam kind of thinks
opposite.
He thinks opposite, but he also compartmentalizes things. Sam groups things together, so he might see a connection with like these two words and these two, and no, you know what I mean? Like, he's very good at. He thinks outside the box, and I think that's a skill that can use. So
organizing for sure.
Right? Oh yeah.
So with that said, I want to get into some more of your personal interests there, Sam. Like, I want to know first and foremost, right? You're a rock and roll fan.
Yep.
What bands are you into? What's some of your favorite bands?
Oh boy, AC/DC.
All right.
Nickelback.
Okay, so you're one of. Have you heard the jokes about Nickelback, like the memes on the internet and everything?
Yeah, and they're stupid.
There we go. We got at least one proud Nickelback fan on the show.
Yeah. Queen.
Oh yeah, I love Queen.
And this one does too.
I'm obsessed with Queen. I love Queen.
And then Guns N' Roses.
Okay.
A lot of solo artists I'm a fan of too. Elvis.
Okay.
Yeah, came on with Elvis, man. And then some that really aren't known, really.
Shout some of them
underrated. Not them, but like, let me think of some underrated people here. 3 Day Grace.
Oh yeah, I know them. Yeah, they're pretty good.
Okay. Who else? Let me think. Code Orange.
I think they come out on a lot of WWE NXT shows as well. Code Orange, I've heard them.
Let me think of someone else here. This is an underrated one, but Skillet. CCR.
Creedence, yeah.
Creedence Revival, something like that.
You got a lot of interesting bands there that you like, man. You like the classics. I'm guessing that comes from Mom.
No, that's Dad.
Okay.
Yeah.
You like pop music, and I hate that crap.
Yeah, I like
some pop. I do like that. cool.
I like all kinds of music, though. I mean, I'm a huge Queen fan. I've seen the movie Bohemian Rhapsody several times. So I'm a big Freddie Mercury fan.
Nice. Sam, do you play any instruments, or have you ever had any interest in that?
All right. Here's a funny story with that. So, I played one instrument in my entire life, the clarinet. I wanted to try band, like our band class.
Right. I
tried clarinet and I hated it. She wouldn't let me drop out, so I was like, all right, I'm not doing this baloney. This is crap. So I started fake playing.
Yeah.
I just blow in.
He would fake play. We would go to his concerts and, like his grandparents would be there and my husband, and we would all be in the audience, like watching him play this clarinet. And he would get excited and stop playing the clarinet right in the middle of the song and look up at us
and just wave.
And we were like, no, keep playing, keep playing. And he wasn't playing.
Then Father's like, all right.
So he quit eventually.
Well, I play a little bit of everything. I play drums, guitar, a little bit of bass and keyboard. Love to sing. But I tell you what, if you ever get into trying to be in a band or anything like that, if you can count to 4, you can play drums. That's what I tell everybody. If you can count to 4, you can play drums. So that would probably be the easiest one to do.
Yeah, that was my least favorite instrument for a while was drums. I thought it was a distraction. Like drums were a distraction. Not anymore. I love the drums.
You should if you can play all of those things, you should go on America's Got Talent.
Yeah, maybe, huh? That'd be something. Yeah. But I don't know. I'm over here in LA. Maybe I should. Maybe I shouldn't take it for granted.
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Then we'll get back on each other's podcasts after that, right?
Yeah.
But also, one of your other interests. Your mom told me you're a big wrestling fan, Sam.
Ever since I was 6.
Nice. Who's your all-time favorite wrestler?
Mick Foley.
Okay, good.
Mick and Cactus Jack, Dude Love.
Yeah.
I have some like the 3 faces of Bray Wyatt.
Oh yeah. It's kind of has a similar vibe, but a little different. You kind of remind me of, man. You kind of look like a young AJ Styles before he grew out his hair.
Wow.
Well, I will say he did meet Mick Foley. Mick Foley, 2 or 3 years ago, was in Indianapolis, and I thought, oh my gosh, we have to go to this. So I took Sam to meet him, and there was quite a line to meet him. I will tell you, he spent time with Sam.
Yeah.
I mean, we told him, because Mick Foley was born in Bloomington, Indiana, which is about 30 minutes from us.
Okay.
So Sam told him that, and then, I can't remember, did you tell him you had autism?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, I can't remember, but he really, and I believe Mick Foley has...
a son on the spectrum.
Maybe
he does.
Has a son.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
And so we are always, every time Sam does one of if he's interviewed or something, we're always like, oh, I hope Mick Foley is listening to this, so that he will come on Sam's show. Because Sam absolutely loves him. But he is a very nice man. When we met him, there was a huge line behind us, and he spent time with him.
Yeah.
I mean, really spent time with him, and I so appreciated it.
Huh. Yeah, that's I heard he's a really nice guy like that. He'll give you your money's worth or your time's worth, whatever if you spend time in line or anything like that. That's good to know. Who are some of your other favorites, Sam? I know how long you've been watching since you were 6 years old, right? Did you watch anything, any of the stuff before you were born? Like any of the old Golden Era, Attitude Era?
Yeah, why not? Let's help this out a little bit. Actually, I made a list of my favorite wrestlers.
No, you can't.
Oh, let's see. I can list some.
All right.
The NWO.
Okay.
NWO for life. Psycho Sid.
Oh, hell yeah.
Sid Vicious.
Yeah.
Shane McMahon.
Uh-huh.
Best in the world. Kurt Angle.
Mm-hmm.
Mick Foley, as we all know. Kevin Owens.
Okay.
Not Kevin Owens, Stunner Kevin. It's like the previous Kevin Owens.
From when he first started?
Yeah, before he became a Stone Cold Steve Austin ripoff.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Sami Zayn, not because of his wrestling, but because of his character. I didn't like him as a babyface. I think he was bland.
Yeah.
But as a heel, he got me interested.
I agree. I think his heel work is a lot better than trying to be the clean cut babyface that everybody loves, because he's naturally an annoying person.
Yeah.
Right.
Who else? Yokozuna.
Wow, that's old school.
Von Sidra. Umaga.
Okay, the Samoans.
And yeah. Let me think of who else. Bray. All Brays now. The Fiend. Probably my utmost favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Who else? Becky Lynch.
Okay. How about
the man Becky Lynch?
How about do you also watch any other promotions like AEW or anything like that? No, strict WWE. Yeah, you are a loyal person, huh?
Told you.
Yeah.
Did I tell you about? I couldn't remember on my original message. So Sam knows all of the WrestleManias, and I don't mean just like know them. He knows every single thing about the WrestleManias from 1 to 36.
Wow!
And I can give him a number.
Let's have you give a couple numbers. Let's have him give you a number.
Okay, and it doesn't have to be an order. Like I can give him any number between 1 and 36, and he can tell you everything. Like, and I don't think he's like watched. He's watched them, but not.
I watched them, yeah,
hundreds of times each. But it's just. So, you want to do it?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Okay,
let's get that bread.
Okay, so 1 to 36. All right, let me give you a couple numbers.
Okay.
20.
20?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Chris Benoit versus Triple H versus Shawn Michaels for the World Heavyweight Championship. I think what happened was Triple H went for a clothesline, but he got caught in the crossface.
And he's the one who tapped out, yeah. Okay. How about...
Mom?
Oh, go ahead.
29.
29? Okay. Rock versus Cena. A redemption story for Cena because he lost obviously in the previous one. Rock goes for rock bottom, Cena hits the AA. Woohoo, new champion. And they showed respect, may I add. Alright, you can go now.
I'm going to give you an old school one, alright? This is one that I watched over and over again as a kid. Because I don't know if you know what a VHS tape is. But I
know what a VHS tape is.
Do you?
Yeah. My grandparents still have them. The 80 ones.
But I pretty much wore out this tape, like, watching it so much. WrestleMania 8.
8? Oh, boy. I don't know what. But anyway, Hulk Hogan versus Sid Justice for the Heavyweight Championship. I think Sid got himself disqualified, but the Ultimate Warrior came out and saved the day.
Yeah.
I mean, the Ultimate Warrior, yeah.
Wow.
Did you know what the undercard co-main event was to that WrestleMania?
Randy Savage, Ric Flair.
Impressive, man. Very impressive.
Do one more.
Yeah.
17.
Okay, 17. Rock versus Steve Austin 2 for the World Heavyweight Championship as well. Steve Austin hit him with the stunner, and what happened was Vince McMahon Steve Austin turned his back on the fans and became a heel when he aligned his with Vince McMahon.
Wow. If there's ever like a wrestling trivia night, man, people are in trouble. You're gonna win that. You know?
Wrestling
trivia night.
Oh yeah, they're in trouble, buddy.
So did you happen to see the promo picture I made for you that I sent your mom?
Is it one with the belt?
With the championship belt, yeah. That's cool, man. I put that on you because first I know you're a wrestling fan, but you know I knew you'd come off like a champion, man. You're doing a great thing, I think. You know, because
you're the champions, bro. We are the champions.
Because
like Queen, man.
Yeah, exactly. You know, because just like we've talked about throughout this episode, you know, people view autism a certain way, but you know, you doing your podcast and showing your personality and you know, letting people get to know who you are, you know, I think you're doing a great thing and showing people that, hey, this is not necessarily, you know, this is not a bad thing. You know, like just like your mom said, we're all wired differently. And so to me that's showing, you know, championship material there, man. You're a champ.
It is, man. It definitely is.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm so proud of him. I mean, you know, like I said before.
You're running in the snap.
No.
I'm sorry, I'm just hungry.
Whenever he was, like I said, when he was born, I don't know, you worry about your children just in general, but then, when you're thrown autism or really anything, it makes you worry, like, what does the future hold? Like, and I never knew, and I still don't know. But I just feel like he's successful now. I mean, he's has the podcast, he's selling merchandise, he has his own website, and I just feel like just every day he's just changing the world a little bit at a time.
I am a little bit.
And that's
I like to think I am.
I couldn't be more.
I didn't expect. I just thought it'd just be like a few episodes, get like some views. Who would be a medium podcast?
Yeah, but he's gotten lots of attention from it. He's been in several newspapers, magazines, talk shows,
TV.
TV. It's been pretty cool.
Wow.
You just can't go to your head.
Well, I haven't like I'm not that mean. Come on.
Well, I wanted to do a couple things real quick before we close out. So, do you guys have any? I know you mentioned the website, but do you have anything you want to plug or shout out?
So my website is autismrocknose.com, and you can find my website on that, and we can find a podcast though on Podbean, Spotify, YouTube, LinkedIn, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, and
it's about everywhere. I mean, anywhere you want. Yeah, anywhere you want to list it. And then, autismrocksandrolls.com. And then he has some services that he offers on the website as well.
Okay. And then, so the last thing I want to do, I do this on every episode. I ask about the next episode. And our next episode happens to deal with mental health, right? And so my question for this is, do we feel like the world is kind of in a slump right now as far as mental health goes?
I don't think COVID gets mental health. Let's put it that way.
Anything to add?
Well, yeah. What I would say is COVID threw a lot of people off, but those who, and like I said before,
those who suffer from anything.
Yeah, from anything.
I
just with mental health being in a slump. I mean, I think for sure that I feel like the reason it's in a slump is we need to take the negativity off of different. Different isn't bad. And again, I don't know who gets to decide what's different. Different than what?
Right.
Different than you, different than this, different than that. I think it's, it kind of sounds cliche, but it's like, why can't we be nice?
Right.
Why can't you accept my son? Anybody. He has autism.
Yeah. Well, turn the negative into a positive, too. That was like...
Turn the negative into a positive.
Which I try to do a lot of times.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's where I am with mental health, is I think we need to stop looking at it as these people need to be safe.
No. Look what else they can do.
Yeah. Like, look what else can happen. He's really good at things because he has autism. There are things he can do.
I think partially due to autism.
Absolutely, that he couldn't do without autism. So, if you take that with a grain of salt, that he can do things. His memory is I can't remember anything.
Yeah, you can't. I can say alphabet backwards.
Oh, do you want to show him that real fast?
All right.
That shows how.
He can do it. Do you say the alphabet backwards?
Yes, ma'am. ZYXWVU TSR QPONMLKJIHGFEDCBA.
Yeah.
So that's an old trick. Hopefully, when you're 21 and older, you don't get pulled over doing stuff you're not supposed to be doing. But if just in case you do, you know how to say your alphabets backward, and you're safe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, it's like, okay, say your alphabet backwards for me. Okay.
And then you'll do it.
Yeah. Okay, you're gonna go home.
Yeah, you better just be good.
Yeah.
Hey, I am good. Like you never been pulled over before.
We're not gonna talk about that.
Well, I had a lot of fun on this episode. I think it was interesting. I hope people check out your website. I'm going to put a link to it out there when I post everything. But I definitely enjoyed having you all you're welcome anytime back. If you want to talk, talk updates on your podcast, talk more about wrestling, any topic at all. I appreciate you both being on.
And we'll also put your podcast
on my website.
We'll put all of your information on his website as well. So
I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care.
You too. All right. Appreciate everybody listening at home. Thank you. Fuck you and good night. Subscribe to the Ignorance is Strength podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Like, follow, and share on Facebook and Instagram at Ignorance is Strength Podcast and on Twitter at The Ignorance Pod.